So we've seen that Nietzsche's ideal type, Nietzsche's noble ideal, involves love of one's fate, amor fati, understanding that all of the elements that had to come together to make you are necessary, even if some of them are ugly and painful and involve suffering on your own part or on others. One element is maturity as self-government. Think of the sovereign individual. And it's worth, as it so often is, looking back to Kant for a moment. In particular, Kant's answer to the question, what is enlightenment? His answer was self-government. In particular, thinking for yourself. So Nietzsche has this model, and I'm going to read you out a long quotation from the Gay Science. Fröhliche Wissenschaft, right? Remember, the gaze is gay because affirmation, jolly, joyful, right? He somehow wants to have a kind of scholarship which will serve yes-saying, affirmation, rather than the kind of scholarship which unpicks the basis of self-understanding and causes skepticism and nihilism, right? So that's why the Gay Science. Anyway, Gay Science 341, he writes, what if some day or night a demon were to steal after you in your loneliest loneliness and say to you, this life as you now live and have lived it, you will have to live once more, and innumerable times, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence. Even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself, says the demon. The eternal hourglass of existence is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, speck of dust, right? So the idea is that the universe will recur, the whole history of the universe will recur infinitely often, including your life. Nietzsche at one point seemed to think he had a scientific proof that this actually must be the case, because something along the lines of that there are finitely many particles and finitely many positions those particles can be in, and finitely many velocities that they can be travelling at, and so on and so forth. So there's a finite number of states the total universe can be in, but there's an infinite amount of time stretching ahead of us, and so once the universe has exhausted all of its states, it must go round again. This is, of course, fallacious, because, it doesn't necessarily have to start. Even if that model were true, it wouldn't necessarily have to start to return to the start. So it could repeat. It could get into a loop. It could go through states 1 to 7, and then do states 8 to 10, and then state 10 might involve a return back to 7. So it might do the 7, 8, 9, 10 loop forever and on. Perhaps your life was earlier on. Perhaps your life was in the transition from 2 to 3. So it's a terrible idea. And besides, entropy.
Heat cannot of itself pass from one body to a hotter body.
Right. Entropy is a one-way street. So there's no scientific basis for Nietzsche's idea of eternal return, but it doesn't matter, because really it functions as a thought experiment. What if? What if your life were going to be repeated again and again and again, indefinitely? How would you feel? Nietzsche asks this question with characteristic language. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or, once you've experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, you are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine. If this thought gained possession of you, it would change you as you are, or perhaps crush you. The question in each and every thing, do you desire this once more and innumerable times more, would lie upon your actions as the greatest weight? Or how well disposed would you have to become to yourself and to life to crave nothing more fervently than this ultimate eternal confirmation and seal? So, you might go one of two ways. You might go, oh my God. You mean the various mistakes and misdemeanors and moments of mediocrity that make up my life are going to go again and again and again. So, things that you're kind of glad to have in the past and cheerfully on the way to forgetting will happen again and again and again. And it won't be like Groundhog Day where you get to fix your mistakes. No, your mistakes get played out again and again and again. Infinitely often. Well, this might crush you. Or, says Nietzsche, if you really love your life, you might wish it, you might say, fantastic. But Nietzsche's idea is if you think of it as a personal challenge, can you love your life deeply enough to be delighted at the thought that it happens again and again and again and again, exactly the same way, down to the spider on the tree and the moonlight through the trees and so on and so forth. Now, there is a question about this. Does it take remorse seriously enough? Right? That it's all very well to say, everything I did in my life, everything that happened to me was part of the making of me, and therefore, if I love my life, then I should want all of those things to happen again, so that my glorious life can happen again. Some of the things in your life are you acting badly towards other people. So you can say, I behaved badly towards somebody else in a way that caused them, some sort of distress. And the memory of that was part of what made me, the effect on me was part of what made me who I am. Well, this is all sounding rather kind of narcissistic. What about the unfortunate person who, was the victim of your behaviour? Wishing for eternal recurrence means wishing that whatever it was you did to them happens again and again and again and again. So there is a worry about this. This is all rather narcissistic and doesn't do enough with remorse, doesn't take remorse seriously enough. And there is a point with this whole perfectionist line, actually, that it can tip over into a kind of moral narcissism. That if your main ethical aim, and this doesn't just apply to Nietzsche, it applies to Aristotle, for example. If your main ethical question is, what kind of person do I want to become? Well, there have to be some constraints and criteria and guidelines on that, that to ensure that in answering that question, you're thinking about other things that matter, including other people. Otherwise, it really just does become a kind of narcissism. And the answer could be, somebody who's sufficiently witty to keep themselves entertained, say. Okay, so that's eternal recurrence. It's supposed to be a challenge and a kind of existential thought experiment, but it may have the side effect of highlighting a kind of ethical or existential narcissism in Nietzsche's thought.